Thank you for the opportunity to talk. Good morning, and I'm Gitarani. I'm a third year doctoral fellow from the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. I work on memorial stones found in the Wagad region of Kachchh, which is in Western India. And today I'll be talking just about the Sati memorials found in this region, and the collective memories and intangible legacies and aspects associated with the same. So death is treated differently by various cultures, although the act of commemorating one's dead constitutes a universal culture. So before starting with just the Sati stones, I would like to talk about memorial stones in general, just to give a base. And these are argued as a cultural relic of the megalithic tradition, and in some places it's still a continued tradition. A lot of people still do it, and they're addressed by various local names within India, and they're found everywhere in peninsular, western, northern India. And historically, they're set up for individuals who are killed in a combat or as a part of religious sacrifice or sati. Now, sati is a this presentation will focus only on the sati memorials, which were commemorated for women who committed the act of self-immolation after their husband's death. And in a lot of cases, in later times, it was forced. The word sati has its root in the Sanskrit word sat, which means pure or chaste, and it's very ironical because women do not have a lot of power during their life, but in their death they are treated as a goddess. And the Hindu mythology also has a goddess named Sati, who had self-immolated herself, from where a lot of people claim this continuation of this practice. It is to be noted that it's a banned practice, but these women are still being worshipped as goddesses by the family and community. This is a cluster found in one of the villages in Rapar. And it is to be noted that both hero stones, sati stones, and all different kind of self-sacrificial stones are found in a cluster together. And but they are worshipped only by the families who can identify kinship with the particular stone. Just to base, they are mostly the stone is the most common raw material used, maybe due to its durability or availability in this region. And the most commonly found raw material here is the sandstone. Now, the iconographic feature, if we look into it, there are three parts in a memorial stone. The first half is the sun and moon, which symbolizes eternity. The second part is the iconographic part, which helps in identifying us if whether it is a sati stone or a hero stone. The one presented here is a hero stone, and the third one has an inscription. The third part has an inscription on it, which is written in Devanagari script, and it highlights the date in Vikram era. And the inscription are often very brief, with very little or no mention to the factors leading to the death, but sometimes they mention their names. And a lot of times these names have helped in identifying legends that are associated with them, folk stories and ballads mostly. And this is my study area. This is Wagad region of Kachchh. This is Kachchh, and this is the small western part where I'm focusing on. The area chosen for this is a rather geocultural division. It's not a political division. It gets its name from the Wagad Hill Formation that is somewhere in this part, and it has two small constituencies and the part of Little White Desert. These settlements are close to the Wagad fault line, and they are surrounded by the desert on all three sides. So it's a very semi-arid region. It's a dry, arid region. But they have pockets of alluvium, which is used for farming. And these lands are very important because a lot of land disputes have been taken place, and people who died in them have been commemorated through these memorial stones. So before starting with Sati memorials, just to create a base, I would like to briefly introduce different types of memorial stones found in this region. These are hero memorials. They are locally known as padia. It has a seated a male figure on a horse or a camel or a bullock cart with a lance held in a right hand. And these are symbolic memorials for men of valor who died in battles for the community or family. These are self-sacrificial memorials. They belong to a certain community called Charans. These Charan community were very famous for the ballads. Every memorial stone will have a few ballads associated with them. It usually shows a dagger pierced individual uh, uh, who committed self-sacrifice, who chose self-elected death for the sake of their family or community. These are featureless memorials. These are very important in understanding the social strata of the person who died. So these are usually for people who did not have a lot of a strong financial background, and or for people, there's a lot of legend mentioned where people fight in battles and they lose their head, but the body continues to fight, and where the body falls, it is symbolized by featureless memorial, and it is equally venerated. It's worshipped by them. So Sati memorials here are they're locally known as Sati Padyas. Commemoration of a woman who died performing either Sahagamana or Anugamana rites. So these are rites where a woman will self-immolate herself on hearing the news of her husband's death, or on his death, like on his funeral pyre. She will also sit on his funeral pyre, which is, but yeah. So so these so it's just, these are the classic examples. Now there are other various subtypes. The ones I've shown here is the classic example where she'll have a raised right arm, and this is a standing sati with a raised right arm. These are as it's still orange, they're vermilion coated, they're still being worshipped. A lot of iconographic variations are observed. So except for those classic examples, there are sati holding husband, son, or daughter, standing sati with a raised right arm, as seen in the other slide, and there are combined sati and hero stones. So the sati palya depicts a raised right arm bent at the elbow with an open palm, and the forearm is always adorned with bangles and symbolizing the marital bliss. Um, there are different subtypes within this. There are instances where both the husband and wife are, which I've added in the next slide. The raised right arm of the sati is it's symbolic, where she is blessing the gathering before entering the funeral pyre and represents her purity. So this used to be a huge celebration. The society actually did support this, like completely support this, and this was banned finally during in the 40s, 1940s, late early 50s. The Sati memorial, now it's very rich in symbolic representation, as they often are depicted with kumbha, which is this pot, which symbolizes eternal life, and she's always dressed in a wedding attire, symbolizing her like womanhood, because in this part, womanhood is mostly symbolized by their association with a male person. Like it has to be a mother figure or a wife figure, or they do not, like, the identity is more or less non-existent. These are example of subtypes where the sati is either accompanied by the husband in some cases, like in the first image. Here, if we observe the iconography socio-culturally, the lady has attained the status of a goddess, where she has surpassed the social status of social strata and is more powerful than the male figure. This narrative can be observed in all of these memorial stones. These are the second and third images are the one where she's holding her dead husband, and she walks in with the husband into the funeral pyre. These, on the other hand, are the example where she's holding her kid. The first one is where she's holding a baby. It's a young kid. The second is one with a daughter, and the third is with two sons. Here she's not the pious wife but a mother figure, and the iconography doesn't change much. The presence of orange vermilion and the embellishment is symbolic that they're still being worshipped annually. The second one, on the other hand, is very unique because lady with a daughter is shown, and this is a time where female infanticide was very prevalent in this part. So a few of these stories, a lot, and a folk story associated with her is also very prevalent in this region. And not just this family, but a lot of families do identify with it, where a lady like dies for her daughter and she saves her daughter. And a lot of now these stones can be important, very important from epigraphic point of view. The inscription on majority of these palia on these memorial stones are very unclear and brief or worn, due to which dates are very often are very limited. But the ones that I've documented belong to the 16th, 17th century, and they are mostly written in a very coarse Gujarati, and they follow Devanagari script. And yeah, these are the new version of inscriptions. They're not very like, they do not fall under the traditional definition of an inscription, but they help in identifying the community. So in the first image, it's a good example where no Sati memorials. So this site does not have any Sati memorial, but people are still worshipping. They have the names, they have the places. So they have veneered all the women in different parts of Rajasthan and Gujarat, before erecting memorials for the 9 men who died. So it's associated with 9 men who died in a land dispute, and this was in 2002. So it's very comparatively very recent. The other two are where the inscription has completely been destroyed, but the family were aware of the presence of these stones, so they came and they kept a board, or they have uh, kept a new panel for identifying their names and the name of the village. Associated cultural practices. There are many memorials, but the stories associated with them are more or less uh, they're not available anymore. But they're still being worshipped. They are worshipped every year annually, and sometimes they worship during the full moons. And this is performed mostly by the eldest male and their wife. The women are supposed to keep their heads covered as a sign of respect in front of these memorial stones. A lamp is offered, and fresh coat of vermilion is applied every year, just to keep them alive in a way. These memorials are treated as living ancestors, and the site serves as a center of social gravity where significant events are celebrated. As a tradition, before the onset of any event of celebration, for instance, a wedding, any family member, the first invitation will always be offered to the family deity, and followed by the offering of the same to the ancestors represented by the memorials. In this image, the Sati is worshipped as a goddess, but also as a family ancestor. And on the right side is the wedding invite that was offered to her. In addition, any dispute within the family members are also resolved in the presence of these memorials, and they're seen as part of the living world, due to which they're covered in vermilion, which signifies life. And just a few observations. It is very interesting to note that members of the families claim kinship ties with the individuals commemorated by the memorials, and they continue to venerate them. It is also observed that there are instances of reconstructing new memorials when the original memorials were damaged. And although the practice of self-immolation is not practiced in Kachchh anymore, the already existing Sati stones documented are highly revered and worshipped. And although these memorials are family centered rather than community centered, they do help in bringing the community members closer. Um, yeah, yeah. So I would like to thank Association for Early Career Women Archaeologists and Paleontologists, my university, Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, ICHR for the funding, and the family members that were very gracious to talk to me. Yeah, thank you.